And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for that little bit of technical glitch there. Sometimes getting everything on the right places at the right time is a bit challenging when we're trying to get some latest news as they come in, some breaking news which we thought might be interesting to all our viewers. Well, welcome to this 13th day of July, and right now 11 degrees and sunny in Brisbane. Well, the chill is still there, the chill factor in the air, and of course, some of the coldest days recorded in history after a long time right here in Queensland and in Brisbane from where we are broadcasting this morning. So it is 11 degrees and sunny. Let's get into the news for today, and then we'll be finishing off with the Daily India Report. Well, New South Wales Premier has been forced to defend Pallarier's appointment. Of course, we know that he has not taken on that position now, but all the circumstances leading up to his appointment.
She's the former public servant thrust into the spotlight because of how she lost a job to John Barilaro. And now Jenny West's words are reverberating through Macquarie Street.
Obviously, the reports that I saw yesterday are concerning. There is absolutely no place for gifts of government jobs.
Ms West told a parliamentary inquiry that when senior bureaucrat Amy Brown withdrew her job offer for the Trade Commissioner role in New York, Ms Brown also said it was going to be a present for someone.
Surely you right now are trying to get to the bottom of who said that to Amy Brown.
I've obviously spoken to the Minister in respect of that. He categorically denies that he would ever make any statement in relation to that.
The Minister is Stuart Ayres. Both he and the Premier have stated there was no suitable candidate in the first recruitment round.
That is the advice that I have still received, and nothing has changed.
But a briefing note to the then Premier Gladys Berejiklian last August has been released. It says Jenny West has been identified as the successful candidate, and the Deputy Premier, who was John Barilaro, and the Treasurer, Dominic Perrottet, will be notified. Jenny West's evidence has now been passed on to the Independent Commission Against Corruption.
The extraordinary evidence by Ms West that this role was a present for someone was something the committee could not ignore, hence it was off to ICAC.
Now it's up to the ICAC whether to consider it.
This controversy is already subject to other investigations. The parliamentary inquiry, which will sit again next Tuesday, and the internal review. So if the government was hoping for a quick resolution once John Barilaro withdrew, it was sorely mistaken. Ashley.
Well, that's right. So it's not going to go away, and it's still there. These kind of things people don't just forget, all right, just because he's withdrawn his offer, that this will be done and dusted and forgotten. No, it still comes back to bite here. Well, right now, let's take a look at job losses. Well, in a time when people are talking about, hard to find employees and that people and everyone have lots of jobs, that, unemployment rate is low and interest rates are rising. So if interest rates are rising, it could be understandable that there be some job losses in the property sector, but not in the tech sector. But why is this in our interest rate hike affecting the tech sector?
Paul Brown used to work for a startup, providing software to emergency services. But last week, he lost his job, along with dozens of his colleagues.
Some of the things that worry me, really, at my stage of life, are that if you don't quickly find another job, then what can happen is that you end up becoming demotivated.
He's not alone. Across the world, thousands of workers in the tech sector have been let go in the last few months. It's a similar story in Australia.
So this is our Generation 3 Maverick.
At this solar tech company in Sydney, Chris McGrath has had to cut a quarter of his workforce.
Yeah, it was a very difficult decision for us to make, and it's one that we didn't make lightly, but one that we also made with confidence that it was the right thing for the business and what we needed to do to get on a more sustainable footing. We also operate in an industry that has been hit really hard by COVID, supply chain challenges, geopolitical challenges.
Earlier this year, Chris's business was able to secure $30 million from private investors, even though the cost of borrowing money continues to surge. Like many tech firms, the 5B solar company was able to hire lots of extra workers during the pandemic when interest rates were slashed to almost zero and governments pumped trillions of dollars into their economies. But now all that stimulus is being removed, businesses have to make tougher choices. It's harder for companies to attract investment, especially if they're burning cash rapidly and not turning a profit. Share prices have crashed, particularly the buy now, pay later firms. Takeovers are being abandoned, like Zip's bid for Sezzle, and companies are being wound up, including the neobank Volt, leading to another 140 job losses. The price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have also tanked in this higher interest rate environment. Since November, they've shed about 70% of their value. The head of cryptocurrency firm Banksa, Holger Arians, had to lay off 70 of his employees.
That was a very difficult decision we had to make, unfortunately, but the reality is we've certainly hired very, very fast. We also didn't get the productivity we wanted from the additional people we hired.
Fledgling startups are also finding it tougher to attract funding from private investors.
2015 or so, the average was 1.5 years to their first investment, according to Crunchbase data, and it's now 3.2 years to their first investment.
Meanwhile, Paul Brown is furiously working his contacts to find his next gig.
My job at the moment is to stay motivated, talk to people that I've worked with that would like me to come and work with them again, and just stay positive.
He's hoping to end his career on a high note.
Definitely hitting the right notes there, so ending the career on the high note would be a good way to go. If you can afford to do that, yes, that would be wonderful. But as we know that by adding more employees, they said it did not necessarily mean that the productivity will go up. You can have more number of people, they will be there, they will come up, they will be at the job, whether what they actually do, whether there is anything that's done, what have we achieved in the end of the day is very, very hard. So, that's what he meant there, that even though they had put on a lot more people, the productivity was not there to prove that, it had justified putting on that many people. Well, right now we go to look at the police. And there have been increased calls for training for police after calls from domestic violent incidents.
You're playing a game of Russian roulette as to whether you're going to get a good police officer or not. Had things have changed, Mum could quite possibly be here today.
He has smashed stuff in the house before. He's put holes in the wall.
Almost 18 months after Doreen Langham was murdered by her estranged partner, Queensland Police is facing tough questions over its flawed response to her repeated pleas for help.
How far he would go, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know, I felt physically ill.
The Queensland Police response to domestic family violence victims and survivors falls far short of minimal community expectations and standards.
I think Doreen's inquest clearly showed there were different points of failure from the time of contacting police right through to how that was assessed.
It's not the only case where Queensland's police response has been under scrutiny. Early in 2020, the nation was shocked by the horrifying murder of Hannah Clarke and her young children. Now a Royal Commission-style inquiry is scrutinising how Queensland Police respond to cases of domestic and family violence and if urgent changes are needed.
It's more than urgent. It's been urgent for decades. Officers are either ill-equipped, ill-prepared or not trained.
Why is it that you can have experienced officers who've been very successful in this field for a while then making such failures? Culture or attitude, demand and potential desensitisation of our officers, that is something we're examining.
A coronial inquest has just finished examining the events leading up to the murders of Hannah Clarke and her young family by estranged husband Rowan Baxter. The deputy coroner found that Baxter was a violent and controlling master of manipulation, and while it was unlikely police could have prevented the murders, state authorities failed to adequately assess the risk to Hannah's children.
That report that the police had not adequately addressed that risk. Well, right now let's go to the next incident, which is again in and around the police. So vehicle stop, which led to a shooting incident.
Police are investigating a shooting incident that involved this green Ford Falcon behind me. The car was involved in a chase that started in Erskineville and ended here in Croydon. We're on Liverpool Road at the service station. A 36-year-old male drove his car allegedly at one of the police officers, at which time a firearm was discharged, the police haven't confirmed yet who discharged the firearm and at whom. All we know is that the man was treated to some injuries here on the scene by New South Wales ambulance and paramedics, and the police say he's in a stable condition. Another man, passenger, 38-year-old, was chased on foot. He's in police custody at Mascot Police Station. We spoke to a witness to this chase who saw it on Enmore Road in Newtown, and he provided some footage of the car supposedly driving at speeds of 80 to 100 kilometers an hour in a dangerous manner, the way he described it, hitting some of the other vehicles on the road as well.
And right now we'll go to Sri Lanka, where there is so much unrest in the street. If you have been following that story, you would have seen a lot of images on social media when people have taken over the palace or the premises of the president, asking him to resign.
We've been gripped by the images of protesters overrunning the presidential house. What's driven so many ordinary Sri Lankans to behave like that?
Well, actually, this is unprecedented. To be honest with you, I never expected this. A lot of these people who are here are actually sightseeing and, seeing what a president's house looks like, take a dip in the swimming pool. But these are not the middle-class protesters who went out there to, rid us of the Rajapaksas.
It looks from here that they've set up camp almost. We can see that people are eating and spending time there, almost relaxing there. What's it going to take for those people to give up that hold on the presidential house?
Well, I think they should go now. I mean, they jumped in the pool and did all kinds of things. I think that party should end and we should get back to business. After all, these are not private residences of various people. This is state property.
How did it come to this? Sri Lanka was one of the best performing medium-sized economy. How did it go from that to people running rampant through the president's house?
It's absolute mismanagement and sheer arrogance of the rulers for not having listened to reason. You see, you can't run an economy with a bunch of your family members expecting to perform miracles. But I think the tipping point came when the fuel lines just got so long and the people, middle-class people, just, said, to hell with it, we can't deal with this anymore.
As things stand this evening, we don't know where President Rajapaksa is. Where is he?
It's a crying shame. You see, he, from what we reliably understand, he missed 4 flights out of the international airport because the immigration officers, what we hear, is refused to stamp his passport. And same thing happened to his brother Basil. And they are trying to leave the country, and I'm sure they'll find a way to leave the country. But basically they are fleeing, and I don't know where they are. but they are on the move, on the run somewhere.
Let me ask you this: the people of Sri Lanka have suffered through months and months of hardship. What's the way back for Sri Lanka now?
I mean, there's only one way out, and that is to reform this economy. That's the only long-term prospect that we have. We got to live within our means, and we have to integrate Sri Lanka to the rest of the world. We have all the ingredients to succeed. It's just the ideology that we need to adopt and get people to buy into so that this country can prosper.
Thank you very much indeed for the explanation tonight.
Thank you.
That growing news out of Sri Lanka, as you would have as mentioned, that there are these horrific scenes. And if you look at those incredible scenes of people just merging into all the places around the swimming pool and everything. So, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go to our daily India report. This is a slightly different report this morning.
Heavy rains in many states including Gujarat, Telangana and Maharashtra. High tide alert in Mumbai. Prime Minister inaugurates project worth 16,800 crores in Devghar. Tourism to get boost from the new airport. Prime Minister addresses centenary celebrations of Bihar Legislative Assembly. Calls on legislators to work in the interest of the country by rising above political considerations. Improved performance in manufacturing, power and mining sectors. Production up 19.6% in May. Mining output up 10.9%. Power generation by 23.5%. And clashes inside Sri Lanka's Prime Minister's residence. 10 people injured. Petition filed to impose travel ban on Rajapaksa's brothers. And let us now look at some more important news of the day in our Flash News segment. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to take part in the first I2U2 Leaders Virtual Summit on Thursday. Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid, UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and US President Joe Biden to also take part. ED issues fresh summons to Congress President Sonia Gandhi for questioning on July 21st on the National Herald case. Gandhi had earlier sought postponement citing recovery from the COVID-19. Union Minister Pralhad Joshi inaugurates 6th National Conclave on Mines and Minerals, emphasizes self-reliance in mining sector. 60 startups registered with ISRO since unlocking of Indian space sector, says Union Minister of State for Science and Technology, Dr. Jitendra Singh. Many related to space debris management. Government to launch Har Ghar Tiranga campaign to inspire people to hoist national flag to mark 75th Independence Day, initiative taken under Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres welcomes legal framework for protection of children in India, praises improvements in access to child protection services in several states. Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan to release India Ranking 2022 under National Institute Ranking Framework on 15th July. Rankings based on various categories and subject domains, says Education Minister. Torrential rain and cloudburst in Pakistan killed 68 people in Karachi city and neighbouring Baluchistan province. US rejects Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's request for a visa. Gotabaya is formerly a dual citizen of Sri Lanka and the United States gave up American citizenship ahead of the 2019 elections. And biggest moon of the year to be visible on Wednesday, the supermoon, also known as Buck Moon, is happening around the same time when the sun is farthest from the planet due to a phenomenon called aphelion. And now news in detail. Development of states will lead to development of nation as a whole, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said on Tuesday. He stated that the government has been working on this for the past 8 years. Prime Minister Modi was inaugurating various developmental projects worth 16,800 crore rupees. They include 657-acre Devghar Airport constructed at a cost of 401 crore rupees. This is Jharkhand's second airport after Ranchi. He asserted that the new initiatives would go a long way in boosting development in eastern India. They will also give a huge impetus to the state's modern connectivity, energy, health, faith and tourism, Prime Minister added.
इन प्रोजेक्ट से झारखंड के लाखों लोगों का जीवन तो आसान होगा ही, व्यापार कारोबार के लिए, टूरिज्म के लिए, रोजगार स्वरोजगार के लिए भी अनेक नए अवसर बनेंगे.
Moving on, incessant heavy rainfall has spelled chaos in several parts of Gujarat. 6 people died in rain-related incidents in the last 24 hours, raising the toll to 69 since the 1st of June. Over 27,000 people have been evacuated. Rail and road traffic have been badly hit due to waterlogging. In South Gujarat, Dang, Navsari, Tapi and Valsad districts were badly affected. In central Gujarat, the situation remained grim in Panchmahal, Chota Udaipur and Kheda. Rajkot and Ahmedabad are also reeling under flood-like situation as rains continue to lash the state. The weather department has issued a red alert in 13 districts till Wednesday.
राजकोट की बात करें तो बादर, फोफल, अजी और न्यारी 4 डैम फुल हो गया है और शटर्स भी ओपन करके हमने ओवरफ्लो एरियाज में भी चालू कर दिया. हर एक जगह पे शटर खोलने से 5 घंटे पहले से हमारी टीम्स, तलाटीज की टीम, सरपंचों की टीम जाके उनकी अनाउंसमेंट भी करती है. साथ में पुलिस पेट्रोलिंग की गाड़ी भी रखी है.
Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel conducted an aerial survey of the rain-hit Budeli town in Chota Udaipur district. And more news on monsoon mayhem hitting various parts of the country. Heavy rains have claimed 83 lives in Maharashtra since 1st of June. Many villages in Gadchiroli, Nandurbar and suburban areas of Mumbai have been hit by floods. Traffic was closed after floods in Chiplon town in Ratnagiri district. 13 teams of NDRF and 3 teams of SDRFs have been deployed in the troubled districts. The Meteorological Department has issued a red alert for many districts till July 14th. Mumbai and its suburbs traffic was affected by waterlogging at many places. Local train services have been affected. The weather department has issued an orange alert for the next 2 days.
So there are, ladies and gentlemen, up to date on Australian Indian Radio and with the Daily India Report. Right now it's time to go to our functions and events. And ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we have time for you in this segment. Don't forget at 10 a.m. we have the weekly real estate update with Ushi Chandra of GlobeNet Realty. We'll see you then. It's been wonderful having your company as usual.